It's that time of year that when you go shopping, I saw a lovely little vignette the other day where a woman said that the problem when you go shopping in your supermarket at this time of year, that the queue to pay stretches right down the aisles. So you have to either climb over the queue, get round the queue in order to get at some of the last items that you desperately need to make your Christmas perfect. And this woman went on to say, but to make life better, all the shop assistants are wearing Christmas jumpers and reindeer thingy-bobs on their head and offering you Quality Street, so that should make your life a lot better. And of course, all the music that plays in the stores is the regular pop music from many, many years, singing the Christmas message. And we all have our favorite Christmas song. Or maybe I do we? Maybe the rest don't, maybe people. Maybe there are people here who can't stick any of the Christmas songs and wish they'd all, the sooner it's over, the better. I don't just have one, I have many. And this is a separate thing from, say, my favorite carol, or carols. Up until recently, there was a presenter on RTE morning radio called Ronan Collins. He retired recently. And he continuously played every day, at least in the period of Advent, O Holy Night. Now he played it by different artists, one every day, from the beginning of December right up to a few days before Christmas. And I have to say, I never realized so many people recorded O Holy Night. It should have been obvious, because there's a competition, isn't there? Even when people attend 5 or 6 carol services at Christmas, there's always a competition with who has the best singer singing the best version of Holy Night. And it was fascinating to hear the multitude of variations of this popular carol and the numerous efforts to reach those high notes when the singer, the soloist, gets to fall on your knees and hear the angels sing. And we usually score them 1 to 10 as we go from one carol service to another. But I'm also thinking of all the records that were released over the many years. Fairy Tale of New York. I haven't heard it as much this year, yet in many cases it's regarded, many people regard it as the best of all Christmas songs. So This Is Christmas by John Lennon, which the sentiments fit in very comfortably with what Roger read for us today. It's a yearning for peace in our world. And then one song, I just saw this image on social media. Now it was a foot, a person's foot, the base of their foot, and it was like that with the toe missing, and a glass of wine after it. And you had to guess what song it was. Foot, missing toe, and then a glass of wine. Who said? Missing toe and wine. Cliff Richard, yeah. Missing toe and wine. But I thought it was good, missing toe and wine. And then one of them, I heard on the radio the other day, the wonderful Johnny Cash, no longer with us, little drummer boy. his version of that, to me, is just so deeply moving. And then Juan, George Michael and Andrew Ridgely, and their song, which still seems to make it every Christmas, Last Christmas, I gave you my heart. Am I right? I hear that as, I gave you. Last Christmas, I gave you my heart. You see, this amuses an awful lot of Dublin people. They smile when they hear that. Because in Dublin, we don't say, I gave you that last week. People say, I gave you that last week. And it always amuses you when you hear them singing, Last Christmas, I gave you my heart. Now this year, there is an excellent parody regarding the Christmas song. At least I confused two songs here, and you'll see what I did. The Christmas song, it will be a cold, cold Christmas without you. And the parody is based on the government's decision to discontinue this year the winter fuel allowance. And it goes, try to imagine a house that's full of coal. Try to imagine you're 80 years old. That's where I'll be since the cure left me. I wish tears could heat my home. Now you might see where I confused two songs here. And by the way, this has stormed to the #1 position in the iTunes charts. Now I don't fully understand the iTunes charts. I stopped understanding charts with Top of the Pops. It's #1, it's Top of the Pops. After that, it's just a confused world to me. So Luke is making out, I think you're going to explain this to me later on. Okay, good. Because I really don't get what it means to be #1 in the iTunes. But thankfully, Luca is going to explain that to me. And of course, it's going to be a cold, cold Christmas without you, was sang by, who said? Mud? Mud? No, we're going to come back to that. It was our own wonderful, all kinds of everything, Dana. Now, did somebody say Dana? Yes. Brian, you said Dana. Yeah, it's well spotted. There's a prize here. You get a free entry. You get access all areas in the church. So yes, so cold, cold Christmas without you was, of course, Dana. And the one I confused it with when I was listening to the parody is based on Mud. You said Mud. Yeah, Mud's Lonely This Christmas Without You, which goes, try to imagine a house that's not a home, try to imagine a house that's all alone. That's where I'll be since you left me, my tears could melt the snow. And of course the parody says, I wish tears could heat my home. So it's actually a parody of Mud rather than Dana. Now we were talking recently about, or I was talking recently, about what is considered a reasonable or good Christmas present to give to someone, or what was, such as the greatest present you could get when I was in my teens was an album, the Christmas album. And the Beatles always had, does everybody, I'm assuming everybody knows who the Beatles are. And that might be some assumption on my behalf. But every Christmas, the Beatles had a new album, and the one I remember mostly is Rubber Soul. Now, I'm not sure today if you handed someone a CD that it would be appreciated in the same way. Although, having said that, when you go into record shops now, you can see there are more album sales than anything else, that the album has made a real return. And I think it's because I think people like the artwork on it, they like the feel of it. It's got a sort of aesthetic value, the album. And it always made a good Christmas present. Although I do get the impression that now the sky's the limit regarding Christmas presents. And that's a bit worrying, because it just doesn't stop there. I was really saddened to hear recently in a discussion, I think it was at our book club, that people were saying that some people put themselves into serious debt at Christmas time. Borrow money, go to the top limit on a credit card, just to have what they may call the perfect Christmas. And I think that's sad and deeply concerning. Now, watching some of the ads on television, I genuinely panic and feel ill when I see the amount of food in all the ads of all the supermarkets that they're suggesting you should consume over the 12 days of Christmas. It really is scary, and I imagine advertising, sometimes we think advertising doesn't really get to us, but believe me, it does. I've noticed I'm buying blue shirts now all the time, and I thought it was an individualistic decision until I noticed on television everybody's wearing blue shirts now instead of white shirts. Watch now. So I was told by the television, you should wear blue shirts now. White is out. And Christmas, for many people, can be a lonely time. Even though they might have people around them, even though they may come to a church or carol services, but they may have recently lost someone, a loved one who's no longer with them, that they shared it. All the expectation and putting up the decorations and the tree and all that goes with Christmas. And we need to remember that it can be a really lonely time for some people. When they look at the table and they think of, there's an empty chair where there was a loved one. And yet, it's a difficult one. This is a difficult one. Because then you have to be careful that you don't intrude. The assumption that that person must be lonely and need my company may be absolutely the wrong assumption. Equally respect those who wish to be left alone at Christmas time. Don't do a Mrs. Dodd. You'll come round and have the Christmas dinner with us. No, I prefer, you will. There are some people who actually want to be on their own and celebrate Christmas on their own, because that's the company they need, and that's the company they want to preserve their own equilibrium. Christmas is a wonderful time, but it does raise all of us our sense of expectation. And that is good. But it must be measured and sometimes lower the bar of expectation. There's a lovely little short poem written by Elizabeth Stuart Phelps, who lived from 1844 to 1911, called Eternal Christmas. And it goes as following. In the pure soul, although it's sing or pray, the Christ is born in you from day to day. The life that knoweth him shall bid apart, and keep eternal Christmas in the heart. When all is said and done, those few lines are profoundly wise. Eat, drink, and be merry, but find the space in your heart for the eternal Christmas. That message that brings new light, new hope every year into our lives and blesses us with a grace that will not be on sale in any supermarket or shop, a grace that you cannot wrap in wrapping paper and give to somebody else, a grace that you get from accepting that eternal message of He who came to walk amongst us. The eternal Christmas, the message of love that Jesus profoundly brought amongst us, that we continue eternally to struggle and grasp. And sometimes we can just about stretch out our hand and touch it, and it can affect us all for a moment, and we sense that moment. But then we lose it, and we return to hate, we return to anger, we return to war, we return to despair. But it's always there. We come close at Christmas time. Remember the eternal Christmas. Amen.